Hi students, I'm Una.
And I'm Scott.
I'm a PTE teacher from the UK.
I'm also a PTE teacher from the UK.
And we've been helping students pass their exams for years.
And now we're excited to help you pass your exam too.
Welcome to the Swoosh English PTE podcast.
Let's get started.
Hello everyone.
Hello.
And welcome to another PTE podcast here at Swoosh English. My name is Una.
And I'm Scott.
And today we are looking at the reading section of the PTE exam. We're looking at fill in the blanks. So let's get straight into it.
So what can we say about reading fill in the blanks? How do you find it as a task overall?
So I don't think it's too bad. It's one of the shorter text prompts. So it's about 80 words. So why don't we just get into the overview and we'll since I've started it already.
Yeah, well, let's get straight into it. So what do we have to do for fill in the blanks? How could you actually summarize that in one sentence?
Okay, so fill in the blanks is a task where you have a number of answer options that you have to choose from, and you simply have to drag one of the words into blanks within that text.
Yeah.
So there are words missing in the text, and you have to decide what word is missing from the different answer options.
And the blanks can come anywhere within the text. They might be at the start of a sentence, in the middle, at the end.
Yeah, anywhere. There's a variety of different areas the blanks are.
And can we actually be certain how many blanks that the students are going to have in the task?
No. So this varies from task to task. Sometimes you can get 3. I haven't seen any less than 3.
No less than 3.
No.
I've seen as many as about 6 in total. And obviously there are a variety of different word answers that you can have, but you can expect up to about 6 in the day of the exam. Of the blanks that we can have,
Definitely. But the most important thing to note about fill in the blanks is that there are more answer options than there are blanks. So perhaps there are 7 answer options to choose from and only 3 blanks within the text.
Yes, so that would mean that 4 answers can't work and 3 could work. So there could be, just remember that every answer won't actually be will be available. Some blanks cannot be used at all.
Yes, some answer options you mean
won't
be used at all.
Just to check that.
Make sure you fill in all the blanks. So yes, of course this means that, it actually makes it more difficult. That's what makes it tricky, because maybe there are a variety of verbs to choose from. You've decided a verb is missing and there's a variety of verbs to choose from. Perhaps they will have included words that are similar in meaning, but in the context don't work. Okay, so that can arise.
We'll get into more about how that works in our methodical overview.
Yes, of course.
So we have, as Una mentioned, previously said that the prompts are actually quite short for this task. They're a maximum of about 80 words in total. So a good bit shorter than the prompts, for example, in multiple choice single or multiple answer. And that means that you could actually get away with spending less time in this task because there's less reading, but obviously we don't recommend you do that. You do spend about 2 minutes on this task.
Approximately 2 minutes.
Approximately 2 minutes, maybe as many as many as 3 minutes in total, but we're ideally thinking about 2 minutes per task, that you have the time to get this task done in a nice and efficient manner.
Yeah. And so for reading fill in the blanks, there are 4 to 5 different questions within this item type. So quite a few for reading fill in the blanks.
So don't feel good whenever you've done the first one. You'll have another few to do as well.
Yes,
so just make sure that you have practiced different text types and different collocations, etc. that you've done in your own previous time.
So then we will consider how you are scored.
So scoring is quite simple for this. You are given 1 point for each correct answer. You are given 0 points for each incomplete answer or incorrect answer. So keep the good news in context that there's no negative marking for this task.
No negative marking. So that means that you can guess. If you're really, really stuck, of course, we don't want to be guessing. We want to make confident choices. But if we are stuck, then we can just insert the words and, might as well try and get the score.
Precisely.
Yeah. Okay, so then that is how we are scored and an overview of fill in the blanks. So now we're just going to ask ourselves and look at some questions that you can really, ask to yourself in order to assess your overall reading skills and your reading skills in relation to fill in the blanks.
So what's the first question you would ask in regards to that?
Okay, so the first question is, can you read for the main theme of the text? Can you read for the gist?
Right, so the main theme in the text is highly, highly important for this task because you do want to obviously read over your entire text before you start answering your blanks, because it is useful for you to have an understanding of what the text says overall to improve your own accuracy of what words could actually fit in terms of a logical flow.
Yeah.
So reading for the main theme, reading for the gist is essential in extracting that essential summarizing information. Where would we read in any given text to find those main themes and just points?
Of course, throughout the text, it's going to give you this information. But a really good place to look straight away is, of course, the first sentence. The topic sentence in any text is going to give you a good overall idea of the main topic or the main theme. And then as you continue to read through the text, you can look out for those keywords that jump out at you and really give you a good idea of the overall idea.
Precisely.
Yes. So, yeah, it's really important that you do this with fill in the blanks. And it actually gives you a really good head start. Because if you start skimming through it for the gist, your brain will automatically start to fill in certain words in the blanks or the gaps. And you're giving yourself a head start in that sense. Perhaps there is the word following the blank is, you're thinking, oh, this word always goes with that word. So perhaps it's a kind of collocation. And automatically you think, oh, surely it's that word. So you haven't even looked at the answer options at this point, but you have a clue as to what words may be going in the blanks.
Exactly, from having that overall understanding. So read for gist and improve your ability to read for gist by doing your own reading in your own time, looking at the first sentence and extracting that key information in the sentence, which may work in terms of being one of the blanks.
Exactly.
So the second thing we want to assess is how is your academic vocabulary? Why do you think academic vocabulary is essential for this task and improving your own academic vocabulary?
Well, of course, it's essential for all of the PTE tasks. It is an academic exam. We're going to come across vocabulary that we don't maybe encounter on a day-to-day basis. So you're going to need to make sure that you read texts that you wouldn't necessarily come across, okay? So, finding things online, there's lots of different things available. Go for science websites, go for education websites, and really build up your bank of this kind of vocabulary.
So what should a student do to improve their own vocabulary in terms of the specific activities they do?
So in relation to, you have to read, make sure that you're reading daily, and make sure that you look for when you don't know a word, take down the definition, and then make sure that you understand how it fits into its context.
Yeah, we call that a form of active reading. So not only should you just be obviously taking a note of the word and then obviously just assessing what it means, but you can actually be a lot more elaborate in that. Keep a journal of new academic vocabulary that you might have. Take the word, find out what the word means, look it up on the Oxford Dictionary, the Cambridge Dictionary online, write a definition, assign what the word type is it a noun, is it a verb, is it an adjective, is it an adverb, etc. And then also, once you've got a meaning understanding of that word, write down the other words in the word family. So for example, we could take the word run, nice simple word, it's a verb. We could take obviously the noun runner, etc., and obviously increase that vocabulary with the knowledge of how they work, because that is also very useful for you when you're going to put the words into the blanks. You know what the word type is, but we'll get into that more. So,
well, that actually does lead quite nicely into the next question, which is, can you understand or can you identify how words fit into their context within a given sentence? So it's very important to be able to understand the parts of the speech. Okay, so can you identify whether a noun is missing? Can you really look at the sentence structure, and break it down into the different parts?
Right.
Yeah, so that's really important for this task, because one of the things we're going to do is look at those sentences and analyze the parts of speech, but we'll talk about that more when we get into the method.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you kind of covered there a little bit about the grammatical context of a word. So when you're looking at the blanks themselves, how is your grammatical structure? How do you know how grammar works in terms of a sentence? You want to ensure that the words that you are putting in actually work grammatically, and that's why it's very useful for you to really spruce up on your own knowledge about how English grammar works. Should you end a sentence with a preposition? Should you begin the sentence with a verb, etc., etc.? The answer to both of those is, of course, no, you shouldn't.
Yes.
So know what words go where in a given sentence. So in addition to the grammatical structure, you also should be looking out for contextual clues. What do we mean by contextual clues?
So that's just making sure that you're actually matching a word based on its meaning. So perhaps you have decided that it is a noun missing in the sentence, and you go to look at the answer options and there are two nouns. Well, that's when you're really going to have to call on your actual knowledge of the meaning of the words, and sometimes there can be a very subtle difference. They might throw a couple of words in there that have a very subtle difference in terms of the meaning and their overall context. So you have to really be able to decipher, why it goes in that given sentence. It could be a very small reason. Okay.
So how is your contextual knowledge? If it's not so good, then obviously spruce up on that. And the final thing I want to assess before we get into our true method in terms of putting all this information together is, how is your knowledge of collocations? So what is a collocation, Una?
So a collocation is two words or a group of words that often come together when spoken by native speakers. So I'm here you ask already, what rule is there for this? How can I learn about this? There is no rule. It's one of those things in English. So you just have to learn it. There are lots of lists online for that you can look up and really find examples of these different words that come together. Combinations, common combinations.
Come together is actually a collocation.
Oh, yes.
Let's come together today
Very good.
in order to meet and do whatever. So collocations, we like come together, come prepared, find a replacement, heavy rain, heavy sleeper. Words that often come paired together for essential meaning. So obviously I could say stuff like big rain or giant rain. It has the same meaning somewhat as heavy rain. We wouldn't say big rain or giant rain.
Big rain,
or
giant
weighty rain, for example.
Yeah, we say heavy rain,
so we know
which it does do a lot here in Ireland.
It does. What if it rains a lot heavily in your countries? All right. So also one more thing I want to say is for common collocations is that, as Una said, there's no general rule. It comes to your own practice. However, some collocations might actually form as part of a phrasal verb, for example. They might have obviously the verb and then your particle that comes joined on. That's also a collocation. Therefore, it's also useful to learn, get into the minefield of what phrasal verbs are too.
Yeah.
But let's not open that. We can do a whole podcast on phrasal verbs. They are
collocations.
And collocations.
Yes.
They are pretty nasty. Okay. So that's the questions I want you to assess before we get into our method. So in terms of just sitting down and you're doing the task, what's the first thing you should do on the day of the exam or even when you're practicing?
So we've already discussed this a little bit already, but the first thing is going to be skim for gist, okay? So you know straight away, okay, this, you look at it, it's fill in the blanks reading, okay? So skim for gist. Look through that text and really come to a conclusion on what the overall topic is of the text. Get a good idea from looking at the keywords, looking at the topic sentence. What is it about? What's the main topic?
Something might not be obvious to you when you read the sentence by itself, but if you assess what that sentence means in the greater context of things, it might be a point that's flowing from one to another. You think, okay, that makes sense now.
Yeah.
So make sure you do spend that time skimming for gist. After all, the word paragraph prompts are only 80 words in total, so you can do this quite quickly.
Yeah, and it does give you a good head start rather than just straight away going in to try and match those words. Because as you know, if you are aware of what the topic is, then you will start to think of lots of different words associated with that topic.
Precisely.
And they might be the words in the answer options.
Awesome. So you've read the gist in total. You've got an understanding of what the passage is. Now you have to start inserting those blanks. So what you should do immediately is start to read around the blanks. Why should we start to read around the blanks?
So you want to read around the blanks in order to be able to really assess how you can decide which word is missing. So really there's three ways to do this. And the first one is grammatical, okay? So can you ask yourself which form of the word is missing? Is it the noun? Is it the verb? Is it an adjective? What kind of word goes in that blank?
So that comes obviously from understanding how sentence structure works. Look at what word comes before the blank, what word comes after the blank, where is the blank located in the sentence, what does it link on to in terms of like a comma or even a full stop, for example. Then we can ascertain what kind of word is missing.
Exactly. So you can ask yourself, is it a person missing? Is it a place? Is it an event? Is it something describing an event? So that will help you decide what kind of word is missing.
So that'd be the first thing you would do. The first thing you do is obviously look at the grammatical context or the grammatical structure of the sentence itself. Then once you've got the grammatical structure down, okay, I'm pretty certain this word I need is a noun. You should then move on to the contextual evidence. So even though, of course, you may have obviously ascertained that a noun is the answer, which noun is it? And that comes into reading your wider context of it, for example. So look at the noun options, think about which one would actually fit in that sentence, and then place them in based on both the grammatical clues and the contextual clues as well. You'll find that some actually just don't work at all.
Yeah.
Some of the nouns just do not work in terms of the wider context.
Or you'll find that, sometimes it's possible that you only have one type, for example, you only have one noun, so then that makes it easy for you.
Makes it nice and easy for you as well, because you eliminated the other word options
Unlikely, right? Unlikely.
No, PTE wouldn't make it so nice for you, would they? But it could happen.
Yes, definitely. So, look at your word form, then look at the words. For example, if you've chosen a noun, decide if it matches based on meaning. And the other way that we've talked about it a little bit already, but the things that really arise in fill in the blanks, collocations.
Oh, I love a collocation.
Yes. So perhaps you can decide what word is missing based on your knowledge of collocations and knowing, okay, this word usually goes with this word. For example, some more examples. Deposit a check. So the deposit being the verb and a check being the noun, deposit a check.
So, for example, if that phrase was actually used in the PTE examination and the blank was deposit, so was something check, Would it be give a check? Would it be provide a check? Would it be place a check? All of those words can work in the wider context, but it's not a collocation. Often the collocation you have is deposit a check, placing that money in your account via the form of check.
Exactly. That's the verb that we commonly use with a check. Open an account is another one. Perhaps then I have some adjective collocations. So deep trouble, deep sleep.
Oh,
okay.
Deep blue sea.
Yeah, so these are words that often come together, and if you see that word, you can think to yourself, oh yes, that really matches with that one. Yep. It also matches the meaning, it also matches grammatically, and therefore that can work.
You're therefore likely that the answer is the one that you think it is.
Yeah, you can choose confidently.
Once you've gone through the answer options and you've ascertained the collocation works, there's a collocation I'm aware, and it works grammatically, and it works in the wider context, then you can actually put that down as one of your answers. Of course, then you go through, repeat again and again and again with all the answer types. You then come to the end of the given prompt. You've answered everything fairly confidently. What should you do before you move on?
So, like most of the tasks, there is a review section, okay? So we need to make sure that we leave ourselves some time to read over that again and make sure that we are happy with our answers. So if you read it to yourself, a lot of the time you will be asking yourself, does this flow properly? Does it sound logical? And this will become obvious to you as you read through it. If something doesn't sound quite right, then maybe you have actually chosen an incorrect answer there and you can go back and change it.
So I like to call this obviously a collocations, grammar and contextual sandwich. You start off with the gist and you end with the gist bread, if you will. So you start off by reading the gist, and then you obviously finish off by overviewing again in terms of the gist. Does everything make sense?
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
All right. So also keep in mind that there is obviously more the answer options than there are blanks as well. So make sure that you read again and just reassess if you have time with the answer options that didn't work in terms of if they do work or not.
Yes, because you're going to be leaving some out. Very good.
All right.
Okay, so any that you've reviewed for the logical flow. So any other final tips then, Scott?
I guess in terms of final tips, just remember as well that even though you have to read for the gist and everything's going to flow very well, don't feel like you have to work through the gaps in order. Remember that some of the gaps can actually work individually. So if you're finding it really, really tough and you're not sure which one it is, there are lots of answer options. There are several things that might jump out to you.
Yeah.
Move on to the next blank. Move on to the easier blank. You might find a blank. You might see a blank that you are completely sure of the answer type is. You then answer that. You move through again. You answer that. You move through that. Answer that. Yeah. Then you move back to the first blank that you're not sure of. Look what's happened. Now you have less options to choose from, and maybe the answer may jump out to you. So make sure you work through the easier blanks first. And also, ultimately, if you're unsure of that blank in the end, guess, because there's no negative marking for this text.
Yeah, trial and error. But yeah, that's really important to say. If you, at the end of the day, if you go on to the easier ones and you are able to complete those confidently, you've chosen your answer, it also means that there are less answers for you to choose from when it comes to choosing those more difficult ones that you were struggling with. Yeah. So yeah, that's a really good tip. And if you really struggle with all of them, well then this will be more time consuming. So really we want to avoid this. But trial and error can work. Simply insert each word into the sentence, read it to yourself. Does it sound right? Which one sounds correct? And choose that. But like I say, that will take much longer. So we want to avoid that.
Right. And also just to re-emphasize what we said throughout this podcast, but it is very important, is that you should be doing, of course, a lot of your own language skills knowledge for this task itself. It's one thing learning the method works, but if your knowledge of collocations isn't really there, if your knowledge of sentence structure isn't really there, then you're going to need to do that groundwork in your own time. Learn the fundamental basics and principles of English language sentence structure, how a noun works, how an adverb works, what words often come together in a sentence, and also learn your collocations as well, because it's very useful for this text. So the method's useful, but it's not everything.
Exactly, making sure that your overall language skills are it's super important for all of the exams, of course, and definitely this task.
All right. Any more tips we wanted to give our students before we leave?
I don't think so. I think that we've covered a lot of them.
That's everything, yeah. All right. Well, I really hope that you managed to find this podcast episode useful today, and you can use some of the tips that we have divulged to you going forward with PTE Fill in the Blanks for the reading section.
Okay, thanks so much for joining us today, guys, and we'll see you again soon.
Take care and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Are you struggling with your PTE exam preparation? Are you unsure how to get that score of 65, 79, or even 90? Let us help you get there. Please go to pte.swooshenglish.com and enter discount code PTE10 in order to receive 10% discount on any course.